Let's face it, the average American is inundated by a ceaseless barrage of info overload, multi-sourced distractions, insecurity, fear, and an ongoing parade of contradictory observations which literally paralyze the mortal mind.
Chaos is actually mostly caused by man-made ideology, basically. Like chaos of Stalin, how many people, because of the doctrine of, right? And Mao Zedong, so many Chinese, where people are starving and eating dust.
Our population is striving to swim against the current of an electromagnetic tidal wave of social media. 3, 4, and 5G networks, smartphones, smart meters, and smart cities. Pollution, concentrated energy, and a psychic cocktail of biodiversity mania that undermines the very soul of humanity. Chemtrails and GMO foods from spooky organizations.
Ultra, mega, super rich people who have as an overriding agenda for their life to implement a one world government by the end of the century.
And kids from Hollywood-nurtured academia, tomorrow's voters, are going to have no problem with a socialist world government, especially if it's for the greater good of the environment. So, if the globalists' plan to improve the world generates some Green New Deal, no Bernie Sanders voter or Elizabeth Warren groupie is going to complain.
And that is why we're in chaos, and that is why we have to reject this illegitimate notion of authority and really understand the difference between right and wrong under natural law, and then re-evaluate and align our behavior to natural law.
Given few are alert about the globalists' agenda, let's take a look at the plan and see if it will improve or dominate the world, as so-called conspiracy theorists are warning.
First of all, conspiracy theory is a view of reality that acknowledges that there are hidden forces at work in society, and that the people who are making things happen don't want the common folks to know about it. They have a hidden agenda, like hidden agendas in government and in the media, in the schools. So conspiracy theory is not anything except a propaganda phrase to encourage people not to listen to the information that's being presented.
Fortunately, the plan is all there in an easy-to-read 351-page document entitled Agenda 21.
Agenda 21 is a 351-page document, and obviously if anyone can go on the internet and see it, common sense would tell us that it could not be a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact.
In reading Clause 1.1 of the preamble, it's obvious Agenda 21 was written by lawyers. Given this, we now know that 99% of the global population, plus the illiterate, will probably not read it. Then, Clause 1.2 makes it clear that Agenda 21 is a global partnership, an innocent partnership built on a resolution from the UN's Friendly General Assembly.
All members of the United Nations belong to the General Assembly. Only a few belong to the Security Council compared to the 193 as General Assembly. The United States has a veto, but rarely exercises the veto. They go ahead and they accept whatever the UN wants to be done, and our ambassador to the United Nations, usually a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, will go along with almost anything.
Clause 1.3 goes on to say that the agenda reflects a global consensus, and its implementation is first and foremost the responsibility of governments. By reading the first 3 clauses, any intelligent citizen can see that Agenda 21 is not only a plan and a partnership, but a call for governments of the world to unite. Sound familiar? Earlier, didn't Karl Marx, founder of communism, call for workers of the world to unite? The idea of uniting to overthrow capitalism and its middle class.
Karl Marx is known for his theory of Marxism and economics, where largely government controls the means of production and the power of the economy is not invested in the creativity of the individual, but invested more in government. And it's a top-down control of our economy as opposed to being driven by the people themselves.
So, communism died. Or did it? Sounds like the United Nations has resurrected communism and repackaged it as Agenda 21. After all, what could be better than a planet-wide central system of government control to ensure better protected and managed ecosystems, as stated in Clause 1.1?
Central planning is a concept in totalitarian regimes by which all decision-making and all power and all wealth are held not by individual families, not by corporations, but only by the state. The state therefore takes all decisions, decides how every town and village should be planned, how it should look, how everything that moves and has its being in the country shall be directed from the center.
Let's take a closer look at just the United Nations itself, the organization that hatched Agenda 21, and see what some of its founding principles are. Let's start with the UN's Declaration of Human Rights and see how it compares with the U.S. Bill of Rights.
In our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence, we are very much told by the Founding Fathers that our rights come from God, that they are inalienable rights given to us by our Creator. The UN Declaration of Rights has no mention of God, no mention of a higher authority. The UN sees itself as the higher authority.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Not only based on human rights, but it's based on natural law.
Surely, if the UN is calling for its 193 governments to partner, they will be partnering behind worthwhile principles. Principles similar to the principles in the U.S. Constitution, a document that facilitated the creation of the freest and wealthiest nation that has ever existed. A nation that millions of people migrate to in order to escape their UN member nations.
The Bill of Rights is a set of absolutes. Here they are. You can't do this, this, and this, and there's no exception clause. Whereas the Declaration of Human Rights in the UN system specifically says, well, these rights can be exercised as long as they don't conflict with the purposes and goals of the United Nations. Well, who determines that? Well, the political people that are operating in the United Nations.
We see that the following words are prominent in the U.S. Bill of Rights: petition, probable cause, trial by jury, due process, unreasonable searches, excessive bail, free state. But when we search for these words in the UN's declaration, none of them are present.
These are among the backbone of constitutional government and personal liberty. If you eliminate those, you basically have eliminated the essence of American liberty. Government is not seen in the American tradition as the grantor of rights, but rather as the protector of rights.
If you were to take the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, and the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, you'll see two vastly different documents. One of them protects rights that are ours, God-given. The other one gives rights and then qualifies those rights out of existence.
I don't know about you, but this is a little creepy. A Bill of Rights for a 193 government partnership that has no mention of the right to petition, no mention of probable cause, no mention of trial by jury, no mention of due process, and no mention of freedom from unreasonable searches. The UN Declaration sounds like a recipe for a police state. But even scarier, it sounds like a recipe for a really big police state.
Jails, prisons, fines, penalties if necessary. A police state is where its primary characteristic is that the police are at your doorstep. The police are telling you what to do, or at least they're to make sure you do it after the politicians tell you what to do. So a police state is a totalitarian state. What we need to do is get rid of the police component of the state. Let's make the state something to protect us, not to police us.
Out of the 195 countries in the world, the UN has 193 governments of these countries signed up to forward their non-binding agenda. That's a lot of governments, and none of them, or their people, are being advised to have a Bill of Rights that says anything about petition, probable cause, trial by jury, due process, unreasonable searches, excessive bail, or free states.
And you can read through most of each of these documents, but they also say then, but we can pass a law to suspend it. You can't suspend a Bill of Rights, anything in the Bill of Rights in the United States.
If this is the UN's view of human rights, it sounds like their agenda is not only a plan for a police state, but a global police state.